Good afternoon and welcome to Hangin' with Brian, formerly Beer with Brian. It's not called Beer with Brian anymore because every time I did it, I didn't have beer. So I have water because it's still the workday over here in Arizona. In fact, it's about 5 p.m. and we work till 6. So Hangin' with Brian is a program of the Coffin Comics Sworn Club. The Coffin Comics Sworn Club is worth joining up for several reasons. First, get a goodie bag, a bunch of cool stuff. And as we go into 2025, we're actually going to add some more goodies as well. You also get a 24-hour advantage in news, that Coffin Comics news, and then a 1-hour advantage in the great majority of our Coffin Comics promotions, including the upcoming The Black Gala. So Hanging with Brian is an informal Q&A situation where sometimes I'm talking about stuff that's going on in pop culture, and then other times just asking you guys and gals some questions. So I'm so happy here in Arizona, it being, I think it's the 18th, the last 2 days, we just started feeling cool in the morning. So that's a good feeling. You know, you get, I think with just the position of the sun, generally we know it's going into the fall season, but for Arizona, it remains hot during the day, probably through and including Halloween. But it's nice in the morning, probably for the first 10 minutes in the morning, I wore a hoodie. Looking forward to more of that. Anyway, feel free to ask some sort of questions related to Coffin Comics and stuff going on. You'll notice I have some stuff from Mike Morg. This is our current Kickstarter, and this is my love letter to horror and heavy metal. I do love both, and I do like ultra-violent comics with a bit of comedy and a lot of heart, and that's what Mike Morg is. Definitely feast your eyes on some of the beautiful pages by Jose Luis. The work is phenomenal. Thank you to all the backers so far, and I cordially invite any of you, get on board, even if you just want to read it. Get the Premier Edition for $29, free US shipping, free digital download, and all the unlocked bonus items that are coming up. So without further ado, if you have any questions, feel free to fire away.
All right, we got one from Victor. He says, when it comes to power scaling, is there a possibility for Chaotica to become an equal or even surpass Lady Death?
So the question is, could Chaotica equal or surpass Lady Death? If you look at the key Chaotica appearances, which include Apocalyptic Abyss Chapter 7 and what she was struggling with in her own story, Spellbound, I think it's clear that Chaotica, under certain conditions, could far surpass Lady Death. In fact, I think that she has an unlimited power inside her, and she is struggling to control it. And you'll see in the storyline Helligeddon some of that come to pass.
Mark wants to know, will you be going to New York Comic-Con?
Mark, I will not be going to New York Comic-Con. I think that's the end of conventions for me. I did Tucson Comic-Con and no cons planned for the balance of the year. I have been getting the itch to get back out again, so I have signed up to a major convention as a guest for Q1 2025. That announcement will come soon. Also, I will be visiting the great state of Michigan as a guest of the Still Ill Con. So I plan to be there. Come on out. Tell me what you want me to bring, and I'll bring it.
Ron Bright wants to know, will you ever bring Evil Ernie back?
Ron, thank you for your question. You're asking if I will ever bring Evil Ernie back. Truth of the matter is, I lost the rights to Evil Ernie in a business bankruptcy in the year 2002. So I'm no longer associated with the character. So I guess the answer is no. But what I can offer, if you like that vibe, is Mike Morg. Not the same character, but the same intensity. Ultra-violence, comedy, and heart.
Isaiah would like to know, will there be another Lady Death animated movie in the future?
Hi, Isaiah. There's nothing planned currently, but I could imagine it's kind of one of the areas that we would like to get back into in the future. But as of this moment, nothing planned. But you never know what the future holds.
Substitute Archangel is asking if there's any upcoming crossover chapters next year.
That is a great question. So the question is, are there any crossover chapters coming next year? And that speaks to the bigger topic of what is the Coffin Comics publishing schedule for next year. Expect announcements related to that sometime after the Black Gala. And as far as crossovers, I can say yes. Certain characters are going to meet characters they've never met before, and trouble ensues.
KP Heathen is asking, how about a Brian Pulido action figure?
Hey, Heathen, I don't know about a Brian Pulido action figure. I'm sort of reluctant to try something like that because I would be concerned it couldn't sell enough. So I don't see it on the horizon, but thanks for your suggestion.
Matt S. wants to know, when will we get signature and remark pricing breakdown for the EBAS and Dawn appearance?
Well, so I believe that we are sending out a special email this evening. Is that right? And that will discuss all the various editions and the pricing for SIGs and all that good stuff. So please check your inboxes, your spam. We are sending it out.
Shane wants to know, have you ever thought about putting yourself into one of your comic books as a character?
Have I ever thought of putting myself in? I haven't. I think on occasion you'll see us back in the day in the 90s get snuck in, as background characters. And once Francisca and I were on the premium edition of Nightmare Theater #1, drawn by Bernie Wrightson. So cool. But no, I haven't thought about that.
This question is not here, but someone did ask this, another comment. They were wondering, what's the story with Chaos and the wrestlers, WWE and WWF back in the day? How did that start?
So how did it come about that back in the 90s that my former company, Chaos Comics, got the license to WWF at the time? Actually, believe it or not, it was quite simple. We had a couple guys named the Monty brothers who worked in our warehouse, and they said, wouldn't it be cool if we did some wrestling comics? And I'd sort of loved wrestling as a kid, but became kind of, like a lapsed fan. So I got back into watching it and realized, wow, that's really cool. And we came up with, I think even the Monty brothers might have tracked down the exact contact we needed to get in front of at WWE. And then what we did is we put together an entire prospectus for The Undertaker. So we hired a writer, we did art, we did perspective covers, and we sent it over and we had a meeting. So we had a meeting at the New York licensing show, I believe, that whatever that year was, 96, 7, 8, something like that. Got in front of the WWE and, believe it or not, impressed them enough to walk away with a deal. And we became the official comic publisher of WWE for about 2 or 3 years. And it was fun.
Miguel would like to know, will there be some surprises in the Coffin store for the EBAS Dawn event?
So will there be some surprises at the Coffin Comics Company Store during the Black Gala? The answer is stay tuned.
Eric would like to know, will there be any more chance of 5150?
Will there be any chance of 5150? Yes, I love that character. And I think you may very well see him in the future. Actually, I think that guy's untapped. I would love to see Mike Morg fight 5150. I'd like to see Devilock fight him. But keep in mind, if you read the story, he's actually from an alternative universe. So the question becomes, if you read the story, he blew himself up. So the question becomes, in our reality, has or will 5150 ever come to pass? I don't know. We'll have to check that out.
Mike Madigan wants to know, were you ever a fan of the original House of Mystery series from DC?
Hi, Mike Madigan. I got to tell you, I have been such a Marvel Comics fan and myopically focused on that or Jack Kirby's work at DC that I've only recently, in the last 2 or 3 years, become a fan of all the DC 70s horror. And I am a big fan of that stuff. The covers are remarkable. The work is great. So I'm sort of late to the party. But what you could probably appreciate as a collector is it's just a new thing to be excited about and to be stoked about and to collect. Like, believe it or not, I really wasn't. I'll discover bands that I become passionately excited about that I just never really connected with or knew about a lot or knew in the background of my mind. As an example, the band The Damned from the United Kingdom. A friend of mine said, hey man, I'm going to go see The Damned. Do you want to go? Here in Tempe, Arizona at a venue called the Marquee. So I tagged along and I knew a couple songs. I knew them mainly from their punk rock era. I didn't realize that they had transitioned right into being a rock band. And man, I was just knocked out. And that started it. I just became a big fan. So same thing with the DC horror stuff. I've simply recently become aware and become very excited to collect that stuff.
Wayne says he loves the stable of artists Coffin has.
Thanks, Wayne.
And looking forward to add anyone in particular in the future?
Yes. So for sure. I mean, I believe that part of what Coffin is about is getting all types of interesting artists to express themselves, particularly in the covers. And we have signed a dozen artists for the next calendar 6-7 months who've never done covers before. So prepare. It's fun. We got some really cool reveals coming up. And we actually have some classics that are coming back that haven't done covers in a while. So yeah, the rollout for the next, and we're pretty planned out, Coffin, until about June of next year with covers, meaning we already have them. We're certainly planned out story-wise throughout all of 2025. But yeah, expect the unexpected and expect some real surprises.
Ron Bragg is asking, if I were to come to Arizona for a vacation, is Coffin Comics open to the public for tours and such?
So Ron, yes, technically Coffin Comics is open for tours. However, they have to be planned 2 weeks in advance. And you do that by contacting inquiries@coffincomics.com. And we do indeed give tours.
Solomon wants to know, what is Lady Death issue 0 comic?
So the Lady Death issue 0 comic, published by Chaos Comics in about 1997 or thereabouts, was a story that self-contained 24-page story that reimagined Lady Death's life if a couple of key moments happened differently. So definitely seek it out. In that storyline, the character Death actually has Lady Death see her life if a couple things had gone about differently. So it's a fun story.
Page 43 is asking, any recollection of working with the Insane Clown Posse?
So working with Insane Clown Posse was actually phenomenal. There's a lot of stories and anecdotes, but probably the first one is meeting them for the first time ever. So how it came about was ICP contacted us and it sent like a package of material. And one of the people on our staff during the Chaos Comics era had reviewed it and said, I just want to bring to your attention this thing called Insane Clown Posse. I reviewed it. I don't think it's where we really want to be. And I said, wait, Insane Clown Posse? The people that are on Howard Stern, those insane clowns? Let me see this stuff. So I reviewed all the materials. The next day I got back in touch and I said, no, this is exactly where we want to be. This is exciting. Just so happened that Insane Clown Posse was going to be in Phoenix playing within the 3 or 4 weeks of that period. So we went to see them and it only affirmed my interest in doing something with them. Their fan base was amazing. People throwing Faygo, buying hockey jerseys, all this stuff. We got to meet ICP after the concert. Now, I've been very lucky in my career, connected with rock and rollers and, hanging out backstage and all that stuff. So in my mind, I'm imagining the backstage bus of Insane Clown Posse was going to be bananas. Like it was going to be crazy. So we're just bracing ourselves. However, when we went in to meet the guys, their place was immaculate. I've never seen a rock and roll tour bus that clean. So someone in Insane Clown Posse has OCD and was really ordered. In fact, I was knocked out. I even told him, I was like, I can't believe how orderly this is. And then I think Jay maybe like opened up all the drawers and showed me how everything was like hyper specific, labels facing up. And so that's one story and anecdote of working with those guys. They definitely defied expectations in that area.
Outcast POV is saying, can you remind me when and how did Hope first find out her mom was trapped in hell in the current version?
Well, I mean, what we say is that the Chaos Comics continuity of Lady Death holds up. It rings true. So if you go back and read the storyline, The Reckoning, issues 1, 2, 3, that outlines it. So what happens is during, I guess, between issues 1 and 2, Hope's father, Matthias, actually brings Lady Death's mother's soul to hell as one of the many offerings. He's trying to accrue power in hell, and he actually wants to challenge Satan himself. So that's how it happened. Matthias brought her down, and then Hope herself overheard a spell that brought her father to hell. So she says that incantation, renouncing her humanity, going to hell, but of course being really unprepared for what's to come.
Caitlin wants to know, what's your take on the horror twist some of the big guys have been doing lately, like the Marvel Venomized or DC versus Vampire series?
Well, I haven't been keeping up on the particular storylines you're talking about, but I am keeping up on Marvel's series called Blood Hunt. And so far for me, it's been kind of a mixed bag. I'm always up for it. You never know. I think sometimes you got to read 100 things to find 3 things you really connect with. So I have been reading Blood Hunt. I'll read the whole thing through. So far, it's like pretty good. You know, sometimes it's so difficult when a Marvel Comics will approach horror. It has an action feel. So it's very difficult to capture the mood of horror in comics, you know, unless you're just born with it. Like, let's say, Mike Mignola. It's just the guy's just born with it. Some other people come to mind. You know, Bernie Wrightson was a classic, but there's an action feel. So I haven't kept up with the DC vampire concept, or I did read a little bit of DC's Deceased, and that was pretty cool.
Graham Collects would like to know, will there be any hoodies with Lady Death on it coming up?
Well, we didn't currently have a Lady Death hoodie planned. If you think we should, you know, give us some likes on that, then maybe that's something we could consider on the next official Lady Death Kickstarter campaign or promotion, which would be in February of 2025. But you'll notice on the campaign that we just closed, we did a Coffin branded t-shirt and hoodie. And I think we have a pop-up store coming up with that, just because it's been a couple years since we did that.
Okay, we've got time for one more here.
One final question. Here we go.
Here's a fun one. Rubber Ducky wants to know, stranded on a desert island, what 3 albums would you like to be there with?
Okay, Rubber Ducky, 3 albums. Okay, good question. So I'm going to pick a Led Zeppelin record because they cover all the bases. I always say my answer to the desert island disc concept is, if I were to bring one artist's catalog, and that's the only artist I could listen to, I would say it'd be Led Zeppelin. If only because there's so much tonality, from hard rock to ballads, all kinds of stuff. But let's see here. So okay, I got to bring 3 records. So it'll be Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti. I'll just say, for the sake of this conversation, Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East, and then maybe U2, Unforgettable Fire. That's all I get, right? Or Joshua Tree, one or the other. If that's all I get, I got to have like a wide dimension of it all, you know? So that's tough. So folks, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, Hanging with Brian, a program of the Coffin Comics Sworn Club. If you haven't, stay tuned to your email for a complete listing of the editions available at the Black Gala. They'll be both online. You're also invited to attend the Black Gala here in Mesa, Arizona on Saturday, September 29th, 8th, from 10 a.m. It's the Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if you like horror, please consider backing the Mike Morg Necromorphosis Kickstarter today. Thanks so much, everybody. Talk soon. Hey everybody, this is Brian Pulido, creator of the comic book Evil You Know Who. Do you like ultra-violent comics with a touch of humor and a bit of heart? then I have the book you've been waiting for. An all-new 48-page original graphic novel entitled Mike Morg, Necromorphosis. 18-year-old Mike Morg doesn't ask for much out of life. All he wants is a break from digging ditches so he can party with his buds at the Metal Fest. But his rock and roll dreams quickly turn into an unfathomable nightmare. Kidnapped by the nefarious Dr. Rigsdale, Mike and his friends are taken to a torturous laboratory and subjected to unspeakable experiments. The young metalhead is driven to the brink of death only to awaken with horrific supernatural abilities. His hands have become kill fists, pulsating with life-stealing power. Now, Mike faces an impossible dilemma: kill to feed the fists, or die a horrible death. Teaming up with Ratso, a teenager whose soul resides in the body of a foul-mouthed rat, Mike escapes Dr. Rigsdale's clutches, but their freedom is short-lived. Soon, they become hunted by monstrous killers and a sexy, sadistic assassin. Can Mike survive long enough to master his terrifying curse, or will he succumb to the temptation of its murderous power? Witness the death and resurrection of an all-new horror hero, Mike Morg. Helping me unearth Mike Morg and tell his ultra-violent tale is co-writer Mike McLean, illustrator Jose Luis, colorist Elmer Santos, and veteran letterer Marshall Dillon. And look, here's the thing, this project is done. We just got a print, but I need your help because let's be honest, insane stories like this need love too. Please pledge now and tell everyone you know. Thank you so much, you horror-loving psychopaths. You rule.